Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. John Oliver talked about the Emmys playing him off, and he revealed he actually felt a slight relief when the orchestra began playing him off. Oliver said, "I'm not well versed in sincerity as a British person and as a comedian, so I didn't really want to get upset, and thankfully whoever was on the board said, 'You can't carry this off,' and walked me straight into a joke. I'm very, very grateful that they gave me the parachute so I could avoid my feelings once more." Jesse Collins is one of the producers of the Emmys and told The Wrap, "I apologize to John and his family for playing the music. We turned it off at his request and turned it back on when he said he wanted to be played off." Collins said, "We didn't know that the dog had passed." Fellow producer Janae Ruzon-Clay said, "John always gives us a fun moment. When he was going on about his dog, which was very sweet, we were like, okay, you got to wrap it up." And the music starts playing and he's like, "My dog is dead." And we were like, oh my God, just mortified. Meanwhile, they asked the producers who came up with the idea of roasting Lorne Michaels during the SNL tribute. Collins said, "I believe it was Seth Meyers' idea." Ruzon-Clay said, "Yeah, he wrote that. The cast had a huge hand in that. You might want to volunteer for jury duty." Why? That way you could be on a jury with David Letterman, maybe. Letterman was up to be a possible juror in a criminal trial. Judge P. Kevin Castell interviewed Juror 16 with questions just as he did with 36 other potential jurors to determine who'd be on a panel of 12 jurors and 4 alternates. Those jurors, including Dave, had already survived a general round of questioning in which individuals are dismissed for hardship reasons, like medical issues or jobs from which they can't be spared. The trial's expected to last less than 2 weeks. The judge asked Dave, "Where do you live?" Letterman said, "Hartford." Then Letterman realized not the time to joke and said, "No, it's a joke." The judge said, "Nice try. You figured you'd forego Queens." Dave revealed his true residence area, Westchester County. We're told there were then 36 or so exchanges between the judge and the lawyers. The judge and the lawyers learned Dave was born in Indianapolis, obtained a degree from Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, and has a 20-year-old son in college in Massachusetts. Dave was asked what he does for a living. He said he's currently working for a company called Netflix. The judge asked, "Spouse or significant other?" Letterman said, "I've had both. Currently, I just have the spouse." Dave's bold there in front of the judge, cracking wise. Dave was asked how he gets his news. He said, "Every morning, I used to pick up the paper off the front porch. Now I turn on the computer, and it's an aggregation of news sources from all over the United States and around the world." He was asked what he likes to watch besides any Netflix programs. Dave said, "I like sports. I'm happy football's here. I'm happy it's this time in the baseball season. I like motorsports. I like pretty much what most Americans watch on TV." The judge asked him if he's a fan of the Indianapolis Colts. Dave said, "Big Colts fan, 0-2, but still a fan." "Dave, have you ever been called as a juror?" Dave said, "Been called many times, just couldn't make it happen." The judge said, "This may be the charm." Dave said it would be a pleasure. In the end, Letterman was ejected when a prosecutor exercised what is known as a strike, which allows lawyers on either side to release a certain number of jurors from the panel for any reason at all. It was the third of 4 strikes used by the prosecutors. No reason was given. Nick Swartzen is out on the Toilet Head Tour. Great name there. The 800-pound gorilla caught up with Nick Swartzen, who said, "That's right, Toilet Head, brace yourself. A lot of people ask me why the Toilet Head name, and I think of it like this. The country's so divided, and my comedy brings people together. I don't get political, I don't get crazy. It's really absurd and fun. I just realized to bring people together, we all have toilets, and we all have heads. And I think that will bond people together when they realize, you know what, we're all in this together. Toilet Head, Nick Swartzen, 2028. Nick says, "My show's really loose. I have a set act, but it's like I have fun up there. I started improvising before stand-up, so I can roll with anything. It was funny in Austin. I just did Joe Rogan's Club, which was great, phenomenal. And I remember this guy, older guy, like 60. Hey, watch it." I just turned 55. I'm very sensitive about calling people 60 very old. People who are 60 are quite young. And I remember this guy, older guy, like 60. And he was so hammered. And I think the thing about hecklers that people have to realize is I don't care. I rarely throw people out. But the people around that person, that's what you have to think about. When you're screaming and yelling, the person next to you paid money too. So this guy in Austin is so belligerent, and this woman started screaming at him. So I had to stop the show and be like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And she's like, "This effing a-hole won't shut up." He yelled at her. And I was like, "Dude, you got to chill out, man." Security came over and said, "You got to go." So I started kicking him out. And he said, "Get your hands off me." And they're like, "Dude, you got to go, man. You're being insane." So he kind of insulted a security guard, and they kind of got him in a headlock. Great description. And then my favorite part is the guy screamed, "Nick, help me." And I'm like, "Dude, there's nothing I can do right now. You put yourself in that position." And the last thing he said as he was being dragged out, "I love you." The New Yorker has a big, giant profile of Bowen Yang, which you can read. Most of it not about comedy, more about Bowen's life growing up. But I like this paragraph. The New Yorker writes, the season of SNL had many thorny moments. In January, Dave Chappelle, blah, 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 leaped on stage as the cast was waving goodnight. Yang lurked on the far end of the set looking surly. Yang said, I was just uncomfortable on other people's behalf. It wasn't a big protest. The next month, Shane Gillis showed up as host. Social media dissected Yang's body language. The New Yorker writes, he felt like a character in a culture war pageant. Bowen said, it's taught me about my place on the show being kind of strange and unique. I never expected to be a Nora Dunn being furious that an Andrew Dice Clay is in there. The backstory there, back in 1990, Nora Dunn, cast member on SNL, left the show after Andrew Dice Clay hosted the show. Bowen said he's learned to distinguish between the show and what people say about the show. Hey, nice lineup for Comics for Kamala. Donnie Zoldan is a former... we weren't really coworkers. He... where we had the podcast studios, he owned the building and the comedy club on the first floor, and our studios were on the second floor. So we were... I guess we were coworkers. I don't know. I would more describe him as friend. Anyway, I know the guy, and he's been putting together this Comics for Kamala thing. Whatever your politics, as we approach this from a comedic standpoint, you gotta admit, this is a pretty impressive lineup. This is Sunday in West Hollywood, California. Your lineup, ready? Mark Maron, Kevin Nealon, Lori Kilmartin, Danny Zucker, Maz Jobrani, Dana Gould, Cristela Alonso, and Tom Arnold. Showtime 7:30, doors open at 6:30. If Trump throws a big comedy event, I will be more than happy to tell you about it. Boy, you'd think I could get a coffee sponsor for this show. I mentioned coffee enough. By the way, buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. Chloe Fineman is teaming up with a coffee brand. She has partnered with Ninja to promote Ninja Luxe Cafe Espresso Cold Brew and Drip Coffee Maker. Ninja, what are we doing? Hit me up. Chloe Fineman will appear in social media content for Ninja that puts a caffeinated twist on popular trends. She gave a quote, between late chaotic nights in the writer's room and many different roles, having a 3-in-1 espresso drip coffee and cold brew machine with a drink for every vibe is a dream. Joe Gatto's special came out last night on the 800-Pound Gorilla YouTube channel. It is called Messing with People. Is there going to be a Scrubs reunion? Judy Reyes says, I haven't heard a thing about it except for what you've heard. There's been lots of talking and lots of excitement. I think Bill Lawrence is incredibly busy, but definitely wide open. Reyes says, I'm not as in touch with the cast. I'm very close with one of the writers, Angela Nissel, as well as the hairdresser who actually does my hair on High Potential, her new series. Reyes said, I feel very fortunate. I've forged incredible friendships with people that I've worked with from Scrubs on down. I guess putting shows in the workplace setting creates a space where people can be more themselves. Late Night with Seth Meyers has spun off a new podcast. This is a closer look back, election 2024. Kind of lame, though. We'll revisit old installments of the Closer Look segment from Trump's time in office and discuss what those events will tell us about another 4 years with Trump in the White House. It'll be hosted by Sal Gentili, the head writer and producer of the A Closer Look segment. Sounds like somebody somewhere said, hey, we can make some more money on podcasts. You guys got another idea? And they handed in the laziest idea I can possibly think of, old clips with a writer doing raps, not even Seth doing the raps. Little lame, guys. Anyway, if you want to check out A Closer Look Back, Election 2024, it's available wherever you get your podcasts, although I suggest you listen to Ballot. Much more fun. Lucy Beaumont says she believes gender equality in comedy has regressed by, quote, 15 years. She had posted on Twitter and now deleted it. Where's all your women? Basically, you can search every city for comedy this month. I reckon about 90% have either no woman or one woman on the bill. Some have one woman a month. Back to 15 years ago, and don't get me started on TV panel shows. It's become okay again. Let's just call most of them what they really are. Male panel shows that book a woman and male comedy clubs that tolerate women. The banter changes, the atmosphere becomes competitive, and women don't grow or shine or get equal employment. She says comedy is the biggest gossips ever, so everybody knows, or if you don't know the ones I know yet, you will soon. It attracts such interesting, passionate, raw, edgy, wounded people, but it also attracts predatory men who are really messed up and sexually have been repressed for years, and they get a bit of fame and display these behaviors. There have been times when I've just wanted to go on Twitter and let people know everything we talk about, but we're not allowed to say. And that's your comedy news for today. If you enjoy the program, tell a friend about it. They might like it too. If you would like the program without commercial interruptions, there's a link in the show notes that'll tell you how to do that. You have an awesome day.